Okay, Janina here. So, finally, gagawin ko na ang isa sa mga pinaka-requested na video from you guys, which is a mukbang. So, tara, kain? I think one of the main reasons kung bakit hindi ako nagmumukbang ay dahil I just don't know what to talk about. But I guess one of the things that I've really been spending a lot of time on, especially lately since I took a break for a while, are our books! So, naisip ko habang ini-enjoy ko yung C3 and burger steak ko, I can share with you guys the books that I've read and the books that I'm currently reading. So, I started reading last October and these are the books that I've read since then. But yeah, so let's start with the first book that not that I ever read, but like, I guess you could call this the book that started it all. Alam ko na medyo daunting siya because it looks very intense, but honestly, it is very intense. This is called Subversive Lives, a family memoir of the Marcos years by Susan F. Kimpo and Nathan Gilbert Kimpo. At naisip kong basahin tong book na to dahil parang at that point kasi naka-school break pa ako nun. So, parang madami naman akong natututunan from work. Pero parang I wanted something in my brain na mas academic ng konti. At least something that could help me at least something that could help me, I guess, as a person or in what I do or even as a Filipino. And to be completely honest, I took world history growing up because I was in an international school. So I knew stuff about like the Marcos era, but I didn't know that much of it. So I decided to get this book. Para siyang journal ng isang pamilya who was under the martial law. It kind of gave me a really detailed and heartbreaking and just honest picture of how, what's the word for it? Difficult, to say the least, their lives were under martial law. I guess just the way that they were treated or mistreated actually gave me a better picture of what people were rallying for when they were saying that Marcos was not a hero. Wow! This is the book that got me into politics, into psychology, behavioral science, economics. This is the book that started it all. Dang! It's intense. I wouldn't recommend it to everybody, but if you have the heart and the stomach for it, do it because this book changed my life. Okay! Kain muna. So kind of like what I was saying kanina, hindi ko nilalahat yung parang generation natin, but some of us have decided to look at our past separate from our present, where I feel like it's so important to remember our past because that's what shapes our future. So, with that said, I started reading a lot of Philippine history books. Freaking Ambet Ocampo, who instantly became my favorite author of the Philippines, came in highly recommended by almost all of my friends, so I had to get his this book. What do you call it? Book collection? It's called Looking Back. At parang may iba-ibang mga topics siya per book. So this is a brief summary of the early times in the Philippines. Ito naman Quezon Sukiyaki, so it's Quezon's time in the Philippines. This one, Meaning and History, the Rizal lecture, so obviously about Rizal. And the Independence, it talks about all of the times that we tried to fight for independence and failed, but eventually won. I could not put them down. I finished this one in like one sitting, so it was intense. This part in this book made me cry, and it was just like the first episodes. It was just the first chapter. It was the introduction. Kasi sabi ni Ambet Ocampo, kasaysayan or history is rooted in two words. Salaysay, which means a narrative or story, and more important, saysay, which means meaning. And na-realize ko na all history holds meaning. And he said, without both, you cannot have true history. Kasaysayan is not just a narrative or salaysay, it must have saysay or meaning. If we find meaning in history, then it will gain the power to change our lives. Itong book naman na to na Independence, it talks about the 6 times that we declared independence and also the 5 times that we did not get it. This was independence from the Spaniards at least. But parang, ang hirap nito. Pero parang the way that Ambet kasi, close na kami. As in, you should ask my friends, super kinikilig ako every time they mention Ambet Ocampo. The people who have him as a prof. Like, I'm so like, I'm fangirl. I'm a fangirl. Anyway, the way that he wrote about the day that we actually declared independence, Emilio Aguinaldo, or actually his secretary, technically, it wasn't Emilio Aguinaldo who, according to the book, it wasn't him who read the Declaration of Independence, but it was his secretary. But that day, June 12, 1898, well, he told the story really beautifully, but he also got some misconceptions and kind of corrected them. He corrected the statement that people would say that it happened in the morning, where it actually happened in the early afternoon daw. And that was like, it's a trivial thing, but for me, that changed my life also. Yeah, this whole journey of reading changed my life. Kasi sabi niya, it was meant to be in the morning, but ang nangyari, it had to be postponed because they had to wait for people from different provinces to get to Cavite. And it was just so nice for me to realize that that day of independence was such a united day for the Philippines that they had to postpone it because they had to wait for everybody to get to Kawit, Cavite. I love them. Okay. These are just my top 4 picks. But I think I have merong parang 6 sa taas sa room ko. But these ones are my favorites. So from reading those books, parang mas naging passionate ako to do something that will change our nation. So I started reading this book. I saw this in Fully Booked, and I got it as a Christmas gift. It's called Why Nations Fail. And again, it seems very daunting. It seems very like, whoa, okay. It kind of explains how extractive institutions shape the, I guess, the economic incentives that are given. What does that mean? Basically, this book has a bunch of examples of different countries whose governments were corrupt. That's like the best and easiest way to put it. They were corrupt governments who weren't being fair to the people. And because they weren't fair to the people, I guess the people lost passion to work and to improve and to upgrade our country or their countries. I'm not saying that it's the Philippines. And that kind of led to like a plateau in the country's economics. What's really sad about this is that you can see it a lot, especially because we have what we call brain drain. Brain drain is kind of basically how OFWs work. We don't have enough opportunity here. We're not getting paid enough here. Or maybe in schools, we're paying so much for our schools, but our level of education is not as high as we deserve it. So we go to other countries. And instead of our own country flourishing and improving and just experiencing the wonderful changes that we can have because of our amazing and intelligent and very talented people, because of the unfair, basically, reward system we have in this nation, people choose to go to other countries, and those countries are the ones that benefit instead of our own. So this book actually made me realize how much of our character now is so much based on the roots or like the foundation or of how our nation started and how horribly we were colonized years ago. Because when we were colonized unfairly, to say the least, I guess maybe a part of our Filipino spirit was stifled and our dignity was shaken. And I realized how connected dignity is to hope. And because of our harsh circumstances, maybe some of our Filipinos would say, okay, I am a slave. And because dignity and identity is so connected to hope, I am meant to be a slave and I will always be a slave. So there's no more hope that they will move on from this or that they deserve more than this. Hope is so connected to determination because it's, I am a slave, I am always going to be a slave, and there's nothing that I can do to get out of the situation. And that's why we lose our determination to improve and to change our country for the better. I have a lot more to go. Should I cut this into 2 parts? Maybe. We'll see. Okay, next. So this book was given to my brother by a bishop from our church, and then Kuya passed it down to me. So basically this book tries to answer the question, how can we bring freedom to our nation? And it was basically saying the best way to bring freedom to a nation is to bring freedom to its citizens, one person at a time. And this made so much sense to me because a lot of the times we go straight to our government and we're like, okay, yung may kasalanan ng lahat. And yes, they are responsible for a lot, but we are just as responsible because we are the country's citizens. So it's talking about starting with our inner institutions first. So that's the regular person, that's your friend, that's your family, that's your school, your church, and then eventually the government. Oh wow, and this was so important to me because it showed how, actually what I talked about in my election video 2 years ago, we can't leave everything up to the government. We have to be able to do our part as well. These books are intense. So yeah, kung medyo nagulat kayo kung bakit biglang may hindi naman siya political, pero kung bakit biglang may mga social issues sa channel ko, it's because I know that we have certain issues and problems in our nation, and I didn't want to stay uneducated about it because I have no excuse to. There are so many materials to learn and to self-teach. You don't have to learn them in school. You don't have to learn them in a certain university or in a certain course. You can search them online, read articles, read books, and that's what I did. So I guess aside from economics, history, and politics, I also got into kind of behavioral sciences and psychology. Mental health is such a big, I guess, topic, to say the least. Or at least mental health disorders have become a huge epidemic in our generation, and also because I'm on the front lines of it, and I kind of also really wanted to understand what the heck was going on. Itong book na to, ito yung parang epitome of don't judge a book by its cover because, fam, depression. Parang dahil lang sa cover, hindi ko na siya gustong basahin, but I'm so glad that I trudged through it because it's amazing. It basically talks about what a person goes through when they're going through depression, and this is kind of more, it's not really on the neuropsych side, it's more the emotional side and how that manifests throughout their body. And it also talks about the spiritual side of it as well. Like here it says, where is God in the struggle? And I feel like you can't have true hope without God, so it's very important to find God in whatever you're going through. And this book, at least for me, it equipped me to be able to pinpoint where God is in my life while I'm going through this thing. And yeah, like I said, it talks about the hope. It talks about the many people who've been able to overcome stuff like depression. The worst thing that you can do while struggling with depression is to give up hope. When you lose hope, you're just surviving. You're not living anymore. You're not living life to its fullest, and you just lose the will to live. And I told myself that I didn't want to do that at all. So I read this book, changed my perspective on depression, changed my perspective on where God is during depression, and it's a really good book. Okay, we are out, and I can't talk anymore. We're in our last 3 books. Itong dalawa ang binabasa ko ngayon. This is Switch on Your Brain by Caroline Leaf and How Emotions Are Made by Lisa Feldman Barrett. Itong book naman na to, it's a very neuropsych book. Like I literally found it in the science section of Fully Booked. What does it talk about? So it's very physiological. It is a very intellectual and intelligent book. Kaya honestly, medyo natatagalan akong basahin tong book na to because there's a lot to digest. But I learned a lot about it and how our brains deal with certain memories, how they deal with different emotions, how that gets into the brain, and how that affects your whole body. I guess isa sa mga topic na medyo nag-stick talaga sa akin is the idea of simulations. And basically, this book argues that emotions and our reactions are not biologically hammered into our brains when we're born. They're kind of constructed and built up as we grow up and as we experience life. Basically, simulations are concepts that you've made in your brain that get you to expect different things from different circumstances. Sometimes you can do that for danger if you're driving fast in a car and you just have a simulation, or you expect that you might get hit. That's your memories of fear and memories of, I don't know, reading the news that kind of built up in your brain that made your brain process it in a way na because we're going fast on a speedway, then we could get hit by a car. But also, because this is the girl who hesitates, I realized that it's scientific that because I've experienced people who have left, now because that emotion of sadness and heartbreak has built up in my brain, then I expect anybody else who comes into my life to do the same. So those are simulations. Okay, Push on Your Brain by Caroline Leaf. This book talks about, it's not even specific to mental disorders, but so this book talks about how you are not a victim to your own biology. So basically, she's empowering your mind because your mind is in control of your brain and your brain is in control of your body. So just by changing the way that you think, you can change the way that your body responds to certain events and the things that go on in your life. And going back to the simulations that I talked about a while ago, this book talks about neuroplasticity, where your brain is actually moldable, meaning the simulations that your brain has created can actually be molded if you empower your mind to mold it. It's a beautiful, intelligent book about how mind is over matter. And yeah, I have yet to finish it, but I'm really excited to. Okay, last but not least, this book is called The Power of a Praying Woman, and I've read it about 3 times. It's a very old book. It was published in 2002, but I use this as my devotionals because it's really nice because she has stories and she has truths, and it also has God's promises to me. So it's a bunch of verses of promises that God has made to us. So yeah, this is Power of a Praying Woman, and I really love it. I'm probably going to read it for the fourth time. So, ta-da! Those are the books that I've read in the last 5 months. And this was also me attempting to eat in front of a camera, which I realize now is almost impossible for me. So yun lang. Sana nag-enjoy kayo sa video na to. Kung may mga book recommendations kayo, please comment them down below. I'm really looking for more books to read on politics, economics, psychology, neuroscience, stuff like that. But also, kung may mga video requests yun kayo, please comment them down below as well. If there are any social issues that you want me to research on for you guys and post on, please let me know as well. Anyway, I will see you guys later, and let's all be a little kinder. Bye!
Just watch me break.